Good morning, Sunday school friends. It's Mrs. Russo. I'm glad to see you. We've been talking in the big church about a rich man who came to Jesus and wanted to follow Jesus. And he said, Jesus, how can I follow you? What do I need to do? So we're going to explore this story a little bit more about how we can follow Jesus too by playing first a game that called Can It Fit? That's what it's called. So I've got an easy one to start off with. I have this giant bowl of water. Can it fit inside this small bowl? Let's see. It's going to fit? What do you guess? Okay, let's see if you're right. No, that did not fit. Okay, that was an easy one. This giant circle bowl was obviously much bigger than this little circle bowl. Okay, all right. Let's try another one. What about this rectangle of water? It's kind of big. Versus this square container. Do you think it'll fit? All right, let's see. Will it fit? It did. It's almost like it was planned. It did fit. Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's going to fit because this one is big, but it's very wide. And this one is small, but it's taller. So it's got a little bit more space. So it did fit. Okay. How about this big jug of water? Will it fit in our big circle from before? Do you think? Can it fit? All right, let's see. Let's see. Oh boy. Oh boy. With room to spare. Wow, look at that. It fit. It fit. Now, this one was kind of easy. I need a little paper towel. I'm all wet now. Okay. All right. It was hard to tell on a couple of those. It would look like it was going to be a perfect fit and then spill over. But a few of those were really easy to see. There was just too much water. It was never going to fit. But here's one that Jesus used. This is the story that Jesus told. I have another tiny, tiny, tiny hole. This is a needle. Do you see that tiny hole right there? Yeah, I have a giant needle with a giant hole. Most needles do not have this big of a hole. Okay, let's see what will fit in this hole. How about some thread? Will thread fit through this hole? Oh, Mrs. Russo's eyeballs. Mr. Russo keeps telling me to get glasses. Oh, will it fit? If I could see it, it would fit. Oh, look at that. It fit through the hole. That's exactly what this was made to fit, is thread. Okay, let's see. What about yarn? You think yarn will fit through this hole? Ugly. That yarn is not fitting through the hole. Not fitting through the hole. What about fabric? Will fabric fit through the hole? Ooh, a little bit. Then it gets stuck, doesn't it? It's just wiggling it. It's just too big. But you know, what if we kind of took this fabric apart a little bit and made it down into its threads? Would it fit then? Here's two. Would it fit if it was its individual threads? Oh, it fit. we could, hypothetically, take this whole piece of fabric apart, thread by thread, and fit it through that needle. We could. We could, hypothetically, on the other side, after it's fit through, we could weave it back into fabric. Now, I don't have a special weaving machine that would weave it, but we could do that if we took it apart thread by thread. See how you can see this? This is where I took the thread off. There's more threads going the other way. That's how fabric is made. Well, lots of fabric, not all fabric. Wool fabric's not made that way. Do you see how it's coming up? Yeah? Now, Jesus told the story about something that was even bigger than fabric fitting through this tiny little needle eye. Oh, that's called the eye of the needle, by the way. Like a little winking eyeball. It's called the eye. He said it would be easier for a rich man to get into heaven. It would be easier for a camel, a giant camel in the desert, to get through the eye of this needle, to fit through the eye of this needle, than it would be for a rich man to get into heaven. Is a camel ever going to fit through this? So, as you can probably imagine, this greatly dismayed the rich man who was there to ask Jesus how he could be a follower of Jesus, how he could get into heaven and have this same kind of love that Jesus was teaching about. And he said it'd be easier for a camel to get through the eye of this needle than it would be for a rich man to get into heaven. What is Jesus talking about? How was anybody supposed to get to heaven then? We have to have money so we can eat and have shelter. How is this going to be so impossible? Why would God make it so impossible for people to get into heaven? Now, Jesus isn't talking about riches, just money riches. Because there's a lot of things that people kind of are proud about, that they say, well, I can do this myself, or I'm strong enough, I'm smart enough, I'm powerful enough, and I can pretty much do that myself. But what Jesus is saying is, when it comes to getting into heaven, when it comes into living into God's love, we can't do it ourselves. We can't rely on our earthly riches, whether that be gold or money or a great job or an awesome family. God wants us to have all of those things, but those are not going to be the things that brings about God's heaven. It's not going to happen. It would be easier for a camel to fit through the eye of this needle than for us to be able to live into God's love on our own. We're like this fabric. We need other people. Look at all these threads that came together to make this fabric. So many. We need all of those people. All of God's family, all of the church, all of our neighbors. We also then need an experienced weaver, if we're going to stick with this metaphor, to put us back together as the fabric of God's love, the fabric of the kingdom of heaven. We can't do that on our own. We don't have the fancy machines. We don't have what God has. So friends, before you start thinking, imagining about a camel trying to fit himself through this needle, remember that this is really about that we need each other and we need God. We are just individual threads. But when we come together and when we have God in our lives, we're fabric. We're the fabric that can make love in this world, that can share love, and who can bring about the kingdom of heaven here on earth. I'll see you next time, friends. Bye.